All right, we're here with blind nano penis feminist Anton A. Hill.
Yay! I'm glad you got the anatomy right.
The only man whose penis is so tiny it makes his wife's clit look huge.
Okay, all right.
That's a long running joke we've had for a while.
God, yeah, it has been a while.
Yeah, yeah.
It just keeps getting better and better.
Yes, it does. All right, so Anton made a video that he uploaded, what, today?
Oh, yeah, I think it finished today. Yeah, it was going all night.
Yeah, he's a few hours behind me, so it gets a little weird because it's like 3 in the morning here, right? So it's about midnight there.
Yeah. That's about right.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. So it would be you uploaded today my time, probably yesterday your time, right? Because it's been up
yeah,
for a minute.
yeah.
I watched this entire movie because at first I thought it was an actual interview with Steve Shives,
No. Well, I mean, no, not really.
and then I was like, I don't know if I can handle this. The guy's such a
You're not the first
fucking
person to say that.
moron. I cannot stomach that guy's hypocrisy and bullshit. Um,
It is it's interesting, isn't it?
what is?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say go so far as bullshit only because I haven't seen a lot of his stuff. I used to, and then as you saw, we sort of had a falling out. So I was like, well, why the hell would I want to watch any more stuff? But yes, the hypocrisy that I pointed out, I did find frustrating.
I just watched a video by Woosley. Do you know who that is?
Okay. No,
Oh, he's a good
I don't know anybody.
content creator. I'll send you a link to his to the video he made. I did favorite his video, but you don't seem to be as active on Twitter as you used to be.
No, I
But at
slowed
least
that.
like
Yeah,
Ryan, you don't like cancel your thing and change all my numbers on my subscribe and
yeah, I don't do that.
follower thing, which really annoys me because and this is on topic, right? Because for those of you who don't know, I suffer from severe OCD. As a matter of fact, these headphones fell on the floor, and in order to make this video, I don't have time to wash them and dry them and wait for it, without the electronics going all fucking haywire and shit. So I put them on. So now I'm going to have to take a shower and change my pants. So I really wanted to wear these pants for church today. So that's a pain in my ass. Um, and okay, so when I'm changing the volume on my TV, the number has to be even.
Oh, I understand what you mean. Yeah.
Right. And all my numbers on my Twitter followers and following have to be even, or it drives me fucking bonkers.
I get it.
Drives me
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
As someone who suffers from a few mental disorders, right, like severe OCD and attention deficit disorder, which is now ADHD. They completely got rid of the ADD because everyone who had ADD also had ADHD. And they're like, okay, so what's the difference between ADD and ADHD? And they said, absolutely fucking nothing. So what do we have two terms? Don't know. Let's get rid of one. That's essentially how it went down. So, right, they got rid of the one. So Steve Shive doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. Most of the people I know who have, I actually have been in a mental hospital.
Okay.
When I was 12, and most of the people I know who have been in mental hospitals, they only don't use the word crazy because of people who are ultra sensitive.
Right.
Right. It's not that they have a problem with the word; it's other people have a problem with the word. It's like when a black person doesn't have the problem with using the word nigger, and they use it all the time, especially in like music and shit. Right. Mm-hmm. They're not using it in a racist context, so it's not racist. That's actually how it works, believe it or not. Whether something is racist or not is context. Nothing is inherently racist. There's no such thing. Especially since the conversation was on words, I'm going to start with this word. Right. Since we're talking about words that hurt, quote unquote.
Right.
Um, the word nigger derived from the Latin root word niger, which means black.
Yeah,
that's from
right.
Latin, right?
Yeah.
And Negro was the Spanish use of that word. So they just used, and nigger was the American English version of that word. So basically all we did was get rid of the American word because we decided the American word was racist, but the Spanish word from the exact same Latin word isn't.
That's about,
which makes no real fucking sense.
Well, but let me jump in there because again, context.
Yes.
And intent.
Context matter.
I mean, yes, the spelling is different, but the sounds are essentially the same. But I mean, there is a different cultural context to both phonemes, which I think is important to acknowledge.
I'm sorry, you said phonemes?
Yeah, just the basic sounds, ni and ger,
right,
or
right.
ni and ger, depending on how you pronounce it. I mean,
yeah, whether you say with an AR or an ER, right?
Right. Those things. I mean,
where they're really not. I mean, you're making a different sounding for the same meaning. It really is the same meaning.
Yes, I mean it originally was, of course, but obviously there's immense cultural context, cultural baggage that goes.
Well, I would say there's a different, like, depending on where you are, there might be a different cultural response to it.
Well, I would call that cultural context.
I
mean, we could have the debate all day.
No, I'm glad you. I am glad that you brought up cultural context, because I hope my mother doesn't watch this, actually, because this conversation right here would piss her off. She hates the word, but you have to understand. You have to understand that my mother grew up in the South during desegregation as a black young girl.
Right. Yeah.
So, like, I understand, and she had to deal with a shitload of racism.
Oh, sure.
And I'm sensitive to that, and I want her to talk about her experiences, right? Because you shouldn't forget stuff like that. But she's trying to move on with her life and trying to forget all that happened. Obviously, she doesn't hate all white people. She adopted me.
Right.
So, so she's had her childhood, and I love her to death. But really, there's an irrational hatred towards that word, and I used to have that same irrational hatred, and you learn more, and that changes your experiences and everything else. There's a few things you said in your video, though, that were wrong.
Oh no!
Yes. Things we need to clarify on.
Sure.
So way back in the day, okay, so there's two different words. There's moron and there's stupid. Now, no, sorry, idiot. Idiot and moron are two different words. Yep. One is a term for someone who has a 3-year-old level of understanding things, and the other is someone who has a 6-year-old level understanding of things. These were both medical terms, right? You will find these in every psychology, introduction psychology textbooks. You will find these in, like, you can look these terms up, right?
Right, of course, yeah.
And these were, but retard was for something else.
True.
Right? Now, retard is the word that they came up with because people kept having different words with negative connotations to them, and people kept using that word to mean what we now refer to, what someone who has mental retardation has, right?
Right.
Now, they try to use the word retard in order to come up with a word that no one could make fun of or use for that insult, and it doesn't work. Mm-hmm. That part you were right on. That will never work. We will always find a way. Now, there's two forms of mental retardation, right? The first form, right, is when someone has something like Down syndrome, right, where there's something dysfunctional with the brain, where it doesn't work quite right, where there's connections that should meet, but they don't, or a part of the brain that's completely underdeveloped.
Right.
Excuse me. Now, there's the other form of retardation where there's no apparent neural dysfunction.
Right.
Right. The person either chooses to be of that level right, for some reason, or is incapable of moving past that, but there's no apparent medical reason. When someone calls someone else a retard, the context they are using is for the latter meaning.
Okay, I mean,
they're using it to mean someone who
it.
has a perfectly functional brain, right, but chooses not to use it for whatever reason.
Okay.
And the reason for people like Steve Shives, right, is because he's more interested in his ideology.
I mean, I suspect that is the case, yes.
I can show this in parallel with other people who are apparently smart, right, but fall into really stupid religious beliefs, like people at the Westboro Baptist Church.
Right.
They've been like with Bill Nye, right? There's nothing apparently wrong with his brain, but then he goes and says, "Well, we don't know. You can't. Science doesn't know everything. We don't know why the tides come in and out." Motherfucker, read a goddamn 4th grade science book. We do know. It's because of the gravitational pull of the moon.
Right. Yeah, so far we're basically on the same page.
Right. But I'm also explaining to anyone listening to this video.
Of course, right, yeah.
Right. So you can kind of see that, right? That intentional disconnect from intelligence, from actually using the brain. Because if they actually think about it, right, or all these other things like flat Earth creationist,
right,
or flat earthers, creationists who make the same arguments again and again, right, but refuse to look at the actual evidence. The people who say we never went to the moon, when you bring up, okay, how do you explain radio telescopes? And they talk about the radio telescopes as if they're regular telescopes, not realizing the radio part over the telescope part.
Right.
So, you see this kind of thing all the time. And these, we call these people retarded because they're not using their perfectly functional, useful brains.
I mean, I generally agree, although I don't know that when people use the word retarded or retard in a conversational context, if they're even considering these variables when they're using the word. But yeah, I mean, I think agree.
I think they are, because Bill Burr, I think his name is, the comedian, right? He even has a comedy routine where he goes, someone was yelling at me for using the word retard. And I said, look, here's the thing. If there's someone with someone like Down syndrome, right, where the person is obviously disabled, right, and you're calling that to be mean to that person, I'm the first motherfucker who's going to come up and punch you in the face.
Right.
But when you go and say blah, 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 you're retarded. I'm going to call you a retard. I'm not being mean towards the disabled, right? I'm calling you really, really stupid. He's got an excuse. You don't. Let's move on. Also, this scene from Rick and Morty, which I'll put in the down below as soon as the live stream is done.
Right.
Right. He puts it perfectly. That little conversation, you can look it up on YouTube real quick if you don't know what I'm talking about.
I won't risk the slowdown of my shitty computer, but I'll take your word for it. I mean,
like I said, after the thing, I'll put it in the down below.
Yeah.
I'll also send you a link to. Have you not watched every episode of Rick and Morty?
I actually haven't seen any of it.
Dude.
I know.
I envy you.
Person. Yeah.
No, I envy you because now you
envy
it for the first time.
Yeah, right? Exactly.
Now, I've been waiting for over a year and a half now for them to put in season 3, and I'm like, I need my season 3. Because before I saw it, I wasn't addicted. But then once I saw the first episode, I became really addicted.
This is what I've heard.
So it's really, really good. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about disability.
Right.
Okay, so we talked a little bit about how only like hypersensitive people who are trying not to seem insensitive have a problem with the word crazy. Now, my biological mother, she has schizophrenia. right?
Mm-hmm.
And at first she didn't like the word crazy. And then she was like, I don't like you using that word. I said, well, I've always used it. I take pride in being crazy because in this crazy world, it makes me sane.
Okay.
The insane in an insane world are really the sane ones. It's the sane ones in an insane world that are fucked up.
Okay.
Someone
I'll go
actually
with you.
tried to tell me the world doesn't work that way. And I'm like, yes, it absolutely does, right? Because if you take someone, right, and you put them in a world where people are having their head chopped off, legs blown off, like pretty much everything in the fighting scene of Hacksaw Ridge, right? If you can go through all that, see all that tragedy for a long period of time, right? Let's say that scene, like you see that stuff for 2 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you see your best friends, their heads explodes and shit. If you're not fucked up from seeing that, there's something wrong with you.
Yeah, I agree.
Right? So that's an indication of how that works. Now, because that's an insane world, and that's, you know, an insane person in an insane world. I mean, if you don't go insane, there's something wrong with you. But yeah, beating a dead horse at this point. So the word lame, right? it's not crippled. Lame and crippled are two different things. Lame is when you're physically slowed down, right? So
right.
A broken leg, or I would say it's more like a sprained leg as opposed to a broken. Because if you have a broken leg, then you're crippled. If you have a sprained ankle or something, that's more of lame because you're slowed down. You can't walk as fast. And the reason we use lame as something that's bad, right? Right? You go, oh, that is so lame. Because it's annoying. It's
exactly.
really annoying to wait for someone who's extremely slow.
Yeah.
I know because I'm lame. My leg is crooked from the knee down. I can't run with a crap because of that. I can't ride a bike very well because of that.
Right.
The normal mechanics that go into motion when it comes to my leg, right, doesn't work the same. I get made fun of when I run because it looks like I'm sticking my leg out, but I'm not.
Right.
Sorry. So there's that. As a matter of fact, I'm going to step away I need to grab some water.
Sure.
I'll be right back.
Okay.
No,
I will.
Right.
I'll sing a song.
Okay. Will it be about your micro penis?
Oh, Danny boy. Do you hear those? I don't know the rest of it. Something calling Danny boy. Boy, this makes for good watching, doesn't it? A blank room and my voice. And now I can't think of anything else to say, so I hope he comes back quickly. How about that Super Bowl, eh? I didn't watch it, but I hear a team won. The Patriots, I think. I don't know who the Patriots are. I think I saw a reference to them being New England, which confused me because I didn't know that the entirety of New England had a team. And who was the other team? I don't even remember. The fuckers. I don't remember who they were. I am such a dork. I don't know any of this shit. I don't even remember. Oh, Super Bowl is football, I think. Yeah, I don't know that either. Oh, shoot. Oh, no. Gotta watch him drink that bottled water. Oh, yeah. And on go the... Oh, gotta adjust. Oh, Donny boy, don't you hear them chimes? Okay, I don't know.
You could have also taken the opportunity to talk about your video.
Nah.
And I meant nano penis. Sorry, not micro. It's not that big.
Yeah, nano is micro is way too big.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, I tend to troll his play videos. But you shut off that audio thing.
I actually didn't mean to. I've had trouble with the PlayStation recently. Like I thought I was recording my voice, and I listened to a bit of the most recent one, and it didn't. I didn't hear anything, so I don't know what happened.
No, I meant with the series Sluttier Cousin.
Wait, what?
Because we type into the chat and then the voice.
Oh yeah, no, I don't know what I checked that too. Because recently I used it. I used it yesterday. I was playing yesterday, and I checked. It said text to speech, and I didn't hear any speech. So I had to go back and check the comments. Like pause the gameplay and check the comments. I don't know what the fuck is wrong. I don't know what I'm doing wrong.
It's like Futurama when Friday goes to walk through that door, right? And instead of it slamming this way on him, it comes down on him.
Yeah.
Even though it's the year 3000, there's still like technological malfunction.
Exactly.
By the way, for those who don't know, this is the only thing I drink. Distilled water.
Wow.
Yeah. I can't drink from the tap.
Okay.
People are like, oh, you'd eat something if you were hungry enough. No, you clearly don't understand crazy. People are like, well, what would you do if there was no distilled water for you to drink? Die of dehydration.
I don't have OCD that bad. I have it, but not that intensely.
Okay. Can you describe your OCD?
The only example I can really think of is I feel extremely uncomfortable when, say, the furniture in a room is not symmetrical. I feel the urge to push it around. And this was not a self-diagnosis. I had a therapist who told me that was mild OCD. And she also figured out that probably the reason I don't like jazz and probably the reason I'm not a huge fan of Picasso is for the same thing. Like, there's a certain degree of disarray to both art forms that is intentional, I grant, but I don't like it. It just makes me, I feel the need to rearrange Picasso to make it look like a so-called correct picture. And with jazz, I prefer blues. I love blues. And she actually said, well, and it's funny because blues has a really rigid pattern to it, almost repetitive. And I said, oh yeah, no, I every time it goes from bar 12 to bar 1, I feel comfortable. So I grant that it's not intense, but yeah, it's mild, right. But okay, I feel it all the time.
It's interesting you say that because you said symmetrical, and that's the key word there. If you'd said in a orderly place, right? Right. That would be anal retentive disorder. And most people who are anal think that they have OCD when it's the other way. But symmetrical is the key thing because people who have OCD, they want everything to be symmetrical. The same up and bottom is top and left and right, and whatever, right? Now, people who are anal retentive, and everything has to be in a categorical sense, right? So, from A, B, C, D. It doesn't matter how it looks. It just has to be in that order. Or everything has to be like alphabetical by last name, or instead of category.
Yeah, I mean, I have some of that too. I don't like it when I see things like misspellings or misplaced commas. When I am introduced to what is presented as a correct rule set for something, and I learn the rule set, then I'm very uncomfortable when I see something violate those rules.
That may be the gamer in you as well.
Yeah.
Because I hate it when people break game rules too. It's like, dude, if you're not playing by the rules, and I'm one of those people like, but the rules are what makes it fun because that's what makes it challenging. You're breaking the rules to make it easy, which takes out the fun of it, right? Because the whole fun
I agree. Yeah.
Oh, that only works so well. What are you gonna do?
Exactly. So you're everything else you're fine with in regards to Steve Shives.
Oh, that was a long ass video, and it's been a minute since I've watched it. But I try to do this with okay. So let's talk about his virtual signaling.
Okay.
Right. So what I noticed about that is it seems to be the same thing as I saw a year or two ago, maybe 3 years now. I am horrible when it comes to time. Wow, this is making for a real great video, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Drink some more and then cough some more.
Wasn't even coughing earlier. How messed up is that? So there was this college, and these people were having this Black Lives Matter protest, right?
Mm-hmm.
For their fellow black students. And this black kid needed to get to his class because he had a test.
Right. I think I remember this.
He was, ready to take the test, and they were blocking his entrance.
Right.
So he said, let me just get through here. And the guy goes, no, you should be out here protesting with us. This is for you, man.
Right, right.
Like, how the fuck is it for me? I'm like, if you want to advance yourself as a black person, getting a college degree, which you need to do to pass your test, usually, is kind of required, right? So all the protesting isn't going to give him a degree. Passing his test is going to get him a degree, and that's going to give him power because knowledge and proved achievement is power. So how is sitting there protesting going to help? There's already enough people protesting. So much so that they were able to completely block the kid from getting out. Now, if it were me, I'd say, look, pal, I got to get to this test. This is about my future, right? Either move or I'm going to move you, right? I'm going to start hitting you and whacking you because now you're a threat to my livelihood.
Okay, yeah.
Right? I'd have gotten violent in that situation because you're fucking with my future.
Right.
Now, that guy was virtual signaling, right? He's being a self-righteous douchebag by stopping the black student from going in to take his fucking test. And Steve Shives does the exact same thing.
I agree, yeah.
This is the kind of thing that he does. Right? So it's not about, like you said in the video, right? He's patting himself on the back. But I think it's worse than that.
Okay.
This is why I think feminism is a cult. It's the switcheroo, right? So with Scientology, which you probably know more about because you're in California. That's how I would think, because they're like all over. Now I've watched a whole bunch of videos and stuff. So, but there's one thing about watching people on videos and watching them in everyday life.
Yeah.
And what they tell you about Scientology is this, but you can easily go and watch the South Park video or watch any YouTube video where they talk about once you're to, theta level 3 or whatever.
Right.
They sit in the room and they play that L. Ron Hubbard audio track where he talks about Xenu and all this other shit. So they talk about making your life better, but then they start talking about dead alien souls. Now, the funny thing I have with that is in his discussion about him, they say like the soul started flying up, right? And then he used a soul catcher to catch all the souls. And then they brainwashed the souls. Well, the brain is something as a physical manifestation of the body. So how do you brainwash someone who doesn't have a brain?
I don't know. I guess you'd have to ask Ron.
I guess. It doesn't have a brain anymore because you threw it into a lava, but somehow you're going to brainwash a soul that doesn't have a brain.
More water. Yes.
Yes, lovely. So the same thing is with feminism, right? They say they're for equality, right? They constantly point to the dictionary definition of feminism, right? The social, economical, and whatever equality of the sexes. But the moment you point out that suicides rate are 80% male and homeless rates are 80% male, they go, well, those are social issues. Okay, but you're saying you want social equality. So either you should be advocating women kill themselves, right? Or you should be advocating to help men not be homeless. Right. So which is it? So also, if you want equality, right, why has there never been a protest or campaign against male circumcision?
Yeah, I think that's
I hear all these feminists tell me they're against it, right? The godless bitches from the Atheist Experience show. feminists I've talked to in real life who go to my church,
Right.
right? All of them are supposedly against male circumcision, but there's never been a fucking protest or a campaign to stop it from feminism. But the number one answer I get from feminists is, well, it's not as bad as female circumcision. Therefore, it's okay.
Right.
Well, okay. The wage gap in America isn't as bad as the wage gap in Canada. Therefore, the wage gap in America is okay. How about that? Is that a good excuse to not do anything about the wage gap? Is it? You're a feminist. You tell me, man. Would that argument fly?
Yeah. No.
No? Then they're full of shit. And this is the kind of shit Steve Shives pulls all the fucking time, right? It's okay when feminists do it, but it's not okay when non-feminists do it. And it's funny, he says it's okay to hit a Nazi in one of his videos.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, I'm actually surprised that you didn't know that. Yeah. He made a video saying that if you're not, actually, I think, yeah, in your video, I think you posted the, no, actually, I think it was Woodley video that I saw. I've been watching too many videos.
Yeah, clearly.
So, in one video, they show him saying, he goes, I have no, if you're not a feminist, then I have no respect for you. I don't like you at all, and blah, 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 blah.
Right.
I'm paraphrasing, of course.
No, I understand.
But then, right, in the next sentence, in the next thing, he's talking about how everyone just, he says that if you're a Nazi, then you should be punched. Well, okay. Well, you're a feminazi, so I can punch you, right, Steve Shives?
Okay. I mean, I haven't seen this one. The one that I responded to was from many months ago. It took me forever to finish it. So, because I don't watch his stuff. I just happened to have seen. I can't remember where I saw it, but I saw it somewhere. And what grabbed me, as I said, was just the linguistic stuff, because I don't really give a shit how he feels about the rest of it. Not because it's not important. I'm not interested in his opinion. But I am interested in linguistics. So that's why I talked about that. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure he said plenty of things since he released that video that I covered. I don't pay attention to him. So
no, I can't stand watching his videos either, but I do watch other people who make comments and stuff about, and they post like the words he says and whatnot. And the thing about you said about linguistics, though, I think is funny, because I had a friend of mine who I believe also identifies as a feminist. He's atheist engineer, and his response to me was, let's see if I can find it real quick. He goes, "You are a cunning linguist."
There you go.
It's funny because he says, "Do you take solace in speculation?" And I replied to him with, "Are you talking about the summer solace or the winter solace?"
Exactly.
He got a big kick out of that. So, and I've had the argument with him too. And I'm about to bring him up for the same reason I'm talking about Steve Shives here. Because when I talked to him about feminism for the brief moment we did, right? And I've actually met him at his church in, well, I'm not going to say, but in the state I live in, we both live in the same state.
Right.
And I went, and I was down in his neck of the woods for a different thing, but I went to his church the next morning, and we go to the same kind of church, and we talked a bit, but online we were talking about how
Oh, you still there? Uh-oh. I'm all quiet over here. Looks like I'm the only one here now. That's it's not very interesting to watch. I'm seeing if he's still on. Seeing if he rejoins. I'm going to check on the Twitters. If he responds there. Man, this online stuff, it's such a pain in the ass. Things drop all the time. Huh. Well, I don't want to end the call should he want to continue. So I am not sure what to do that won't be terribly irritating. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, since he's not there, so the video in question, linguistic stuff, mainly criticism of that. I was gonna correct myself and say not entirely criticism, but there is quite a bit in the traditional sense of the word, because Steve just got some things that were either wrong or that I felt weren't clear. Oh, and it looks like, oh yeah, he's back.
Hello. Yay.
Yeah, you dropped.
Yeah, my computer completely froze.
Ah, shit. That's
same thing with happened with Hannah Wallen, but it was like seconds after the stream started.
Oh. Oh, that's annoying.
Yeah, so she's like, "Oh, great! Now what do I do until he comes back?" So this is why having a guest on your show really helps, because they can keep the live stream open. But the moment if you had left while I was rebooting my computer, that would have been
I considered it, but I knew that if I closed it down, then the whole thing would close down.
Okay, so where did I leave off? What was?
Well,
I have no idea how long I was talking before it just froze.
No, that's all right. Well, so after virtue signaling, what? Any other objections to what Steve said or to what I said?
Yeah. So let's talk about ableism.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So I had this youth thing where we had like multiple workshops, and they were talking about they brought up the term disabled versus ableism, right? And I spoke up. Gee, what a shocker! And I said, I have a problem with people using the term ableism when you can't do something.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, ableism is fine if you're actually differently abled, right? Like you can't read the writing on the wall, but you can do all the math in the world, right?
Right.
So you can simply switch from one thing to another.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Right, and you can communicate via math because math is a universal language.
Right.
And you can, come up with patterns and stuff. So even if you can't read, you can understand that some words mean certain things, right? Mm-hmm. Like you constantly see 4 letters on a stop sign. You can kind of memorize that basic shape of the letters themselves from the stop sign and apply it to other things, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of differently abled, right?
Oh, I agree.
As opposed to, I don't have legs. Look, motherfucker, there's no other way I'm going to actually get around, really, right? I'm in a wheelchair, but that's nothing compared to legs. Mm-hmm. Now, I was watching a YouTube video today where they were doing robotic legs, right? Mm-hmm. Now, if you had that instead of a wheelchair, then yeah, that's an equivalent, right? Because you're higher, they can step on steps, right? They can keep your balance. They, you know, there's an equivalent there.
Yeah, I agree.
So, but until they can start using that to replace, like, the artificial limbs that they do have, as advanced as they are, right? You're still, you know, and if those things go kaput, which they may actually be more superior than normal legs, because normal legs respond to a whole bunch of viruses and stuff.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Whereas these mechanical legs, as long as they have energy, they can keep moving. Right.
Okay.
So, you know, depending on the battery you put on, now everything's going to have its advantages and disadvantages. Don't get me wrong, but you know, if I step wrong with my human leg, I could break my ankle or sprain my ankle, and then I can't walk on it. Whereas you can just replace the bottom foot compartment or something.
No, I understand what you're saying. Yeah, yeah.
Right. I mean, there's certain things I can't do. Right. There's not certain things you can't do, like you said, driving.
Right.
So yeah, I think language does matter, and we need to use the right word for the right term. But we can't. Okay, so there's a guy on Packard Pokestat on his channel who hosts sometimes, and we had an argument of words. But this guy tried to dictate the definition of every single word I ever tried to use. Right? He says, "Oh, this word doesn't fit." Because people use it like this. People around you use it like this. And many people use words incorrectly. Like when creationists use the word theory. Oh, well, evolution's just a theory. Well, yeah, so is gravity, motherfucker. Well, no, that's a law. No, there are laws in the theory of gravity.
Yeah.
So
is your objection the use of the word ableism, or the use of the word differently?
Personally, I think the word ableism is fucking stupid.
Okay.
Because no one really discriminates against the disabled, right? I mean, sometimes it's a pain in the ass to deal with someone who's disabled, right? But no one really, I mean, if something's not your fault, right, they don't usually fault you for it.
Yeah, if they know about it. Yeah, there is definitely a social contract that exists between the disabled person and people around them if there is an understanding that is there. I mean, I understand your objection. I don't mind the word ableism because to me it's a prejudice based on ability. So ism for ability, and it can be the question of ability. It's sort of an umbrella term. Now, I have no problem with your objection. I don't object to it because I feel like that's an accurate enough description.
I think they should come up with a different word for it. I think the word itself sounds stupid.
Oh, I agree with that. I agree with that absolutely. But it's kind of like, I mean with many words, is that when you say ableism to most people, they get what you're saying. And that's sort of the point.
You know, it would make more sense if they called it disableism.
Well, and in fact, I got into a debate with some people, this lady in England who really wants there to be a change, but and that may change. That may change over time. But most people understand what you mean when you say ableism. And if you said disableism, they would maybe be a little bit confused. So as long as that is true, I prefer ableism, but only because it's most commonly understood. But you know, if it switches, then I will switch as well. As I'm not attached to the term per se. I just recognize its common usage.
Right. So for you, it's about efficiency. They know what this word is. It's been our culture long enough. We might as well use it.
I mean, basically, it's kind of like I don't actually like the term visually impaired. I don't like how it sounds.
Really?
But I've tested this in my life, and I realize this is anecdotal, but when people have asked me what I prefer, I say, well, I kind of actually prefer visually challenged because that's what it is. It's a challenge. It's not. I just don't like how impaired sounds. There's nothing semantic about it I have a problem with. But the way that your face looks now is the reaction I usually get is it's simply that people they're not used to visually challenged.
No, hold on. You say visually challenged, and I'm like, well, are you going to overcome this challenge? Are you going to win?
Well,
how many points do you get at the end?
Well, and no. That's well, no. Your reaction is exactly why I don't use it anymore, because it's not efficient enough. People have various reactions to it. With visually impaired, they immediately understand what you're talking about. Everyone's on the same page. But if you try to use
visual dysfunctional or visual,
yeah, but nobody says that. I mean, that's the point. Is that nobody says that. Everybody says visually impaired.
That doesn't mean you can't use it.
Oh, sure. It's just that, how many confused looks in a conversation do you really want to endure? And just for the sake of people getting what I'm saying, I have stuck to visually impaired.
Well, considering that that's pretty much the number one look I generally get when I talk about things,
right?
It doesn't bother me at all.
Well, okay. So
maybe not getting one of those confused looks would be abnormal for
right.
For conversation.
So yeah, my only argument is just that ableism is used, it is understood, so that's sort of the end of the conversation. For me, but I understand objections to it, and that was actually my point to the lady who had the objections. Was I said the exact same thing. I said, this is a semantic debate, and in my opinion, the battle is over. People understand the one, they don't really understand the other, so stop whining about it. And she didn't like that too much.
I recommend people read the book, When Will Jesus Bring the Pork Chops?
Right. Yes, Carlin. Yeah.
Yes, George Carlin. He has this amazing thing he goes into about euphemisms and how they destroy language. And one of the things I was talking about when you brought up the word challenge is, I'm not bald, I'm chronologically challenged.
I completely agree. Yeah, and that's where it goes. Is then suddenly, and you have like you don't call fat people fat, you call them horizontally advantaged. I mean, it gets silly. It gets silly, and that's one of the reasons I stopped trying to use that word. So yeah, no, I agree with Carlin. He's right. Linguistically, certainly he's right. Hold on a second. Yeah, come in. Hello? Okay. I thought she was
not he's the ultimate wordsmith as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
I disagree with what his thing on religion is bullshit, right? But I think he's mostly talking about Christian religion, his religion, right? Because everything he describes in that thing, and I love that bit, by the way. Don't get me wrong, I love the religion is bullshit bit, but it's funny because he's only talking about his religion, and then he starts saying, "I'll be a sun worshiper. I became a sun worshiper that night, but not that night. You can't worship the sun at night, but the very next morning."
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe I'll put that link in the down below.
I got to go relatively soon. So next objection.
All right. Okay, so I want to say this. Steve Shives in his video acknowledges that he's relatively privileged.
Right.
He realizes that he's not disabled.
Mm-hmm.
He's never really had any challenges in his life, and I think this is why he virtual signals.
Sure.
Because it makes him feel good to virtual signal.
Yeah,
he's like saying,
I think that's
look at me. My farts don't stink. They in fact smell good. Because look at all these good things that I'm doing for all these people who aren't privileged like me.
Right.
Not realizing that there are people way more privileged than him, right? And he assumes that just because he's white, right, and that he's get treated differently because he's white, he's never been in a minority, right? Not really.
Right.
You can say he's a minority because he's an atheist. But he surrounds himself with other atheists, so he's not really in a minority. I have been in places where I'm one of 10 people out of 1,000 who are white.
Right.
Everybody else is black, except for the 2 guys who are Latinos, aka Mexicans.
Okay.
Right, and this is in downtown Cincinnati.
Right.
Right, so I've been homeless. Right, I have disabilities, most of them mental. I am privileged in one sense, though. I have more bones in my body than he does.
Okay. So is your objection that he said the thing about privileged?
Yeah. Well, because he does this all the time. He says, well, you're a white male, therefore you're privileged. Well, no,
Right.
because I've been homeless, right? I've had a lot of shit happen to me. As I was telling another guy who follows me on Twitter, I had to raise myself, and there's only so much I could have taught me, right? And I don't hold or handle guns, right? Because I've had no one's trained me how to do so safely. So I'd rather not own a gun, right? Because I hear these idiots shooting themselves all the time, even when they're professionals. So why would I risk bringing that into my home?
Yeah, I agree.
So yeah, and until I know how to use one properly, I'm not going to. Right. So I've had a really rough, man, just everything just beats me down, man. And I've struggled really hard. But according to Steve Shives, my life should be full of fucking privilege. But even according to BuzzFeed, I'm not privileged.
Okay. I mean,
I took that test. For those who don't know, I actually made a Water Bear Brigade episode where I took BuzzFeed's thing and I explained every one of these pieces that I voted, I selected on their test. So that's the problem I have with most social justice warriors. They don't care. The reason we call them social justice warriors is because they don't actually care about making things better. They're doing so strictly to make themselves feel better, right? They don't care about the cause or the people in that cause. They care about how they look. That's why Steve Shives will block a woman who tells him about her experience being raped, right? Now, social justice warriors keep saying you should listen and believe, but he didn't listen and believe to this woman, right? When she corrected him on something that actually happened to her, right? He blocks her. He blocks anyone who doesn't agree with him. And Sky Williams is another person who's had to deal with these social justice retards.
Well, that's why I said that some of the things that he said that he was doing, like getting some words out of his vocabulary, doesn't serve any actual purpose. It doesn't help us disabled when he does that, so there's not really any point to it. Yeah, other than what you said to feel good.
This is the kind of person Steve Shives is, right? And this is why this does not help, but he thinks he's helping. There's this TV show where they put someone a fake situation, social situation, and they record how people react. Now, this one person is going around on a disabled cart, right? The person is, no, she's in a wheelchair. She's rolling herself in the wheelchair. And this person says, oh, let me help you. And pushes her all around. And she goes, no, I can do it myself. I do not need you. I'm not a fucking child, right? I can roll myself. I can reach these items. They're not out of my reach. And even if they can, I have a thing to help me. If I need help, I'll fucking ask for it. And this person would not leave them alone no matter how much they said, get the fuck away from me. Until someone else intervened and said, look, just leave the person alone. The person wants to be alone, leave them alone. You're harassing them at this point. That's who Steve Shives is. Steve Shives is the person who's trying to to push the wheelchair to make himself feel better, right? To make himself seem useful when he's the one who's the fucking problem.
I mean, I would tend to agree in at least as much as I've seen. Okay, so because Anton has to go, I think the show should end a little early. I enjoy having you on. I thought you made a really good video. I encourage everyone to go watch it. Harass him as much as you want. Okay. All right. On that note, I'm going to go ahead and sign off. All right. You have a good one, sir. And to all of you that in the interwebs, like, subscribe. I have a Patreon account, which in a moment I'll put down below. I'll also put some more links down. And you have a good one, Anton. All right. Have a good night.